I was born in McDowell County, North Carolina, out in the country on a farm. Marion, North Carolina was the county seat and about 12 miles away. And I think maybe my most earliest memory was seeing my grandfather early. He is the only grandfather or grandmother that I can remember seeing. He had a cancer on his jaw, and I remember going in the wagon about the 2.5 miles from our house to his house, and I remember Dad carrying me into the room where Grandpa was, and I remember very well that Bill Hooper, a black guy, a former slave of his, was sitting by his bedside fanning the flies off of his sore with a turkey's tail, which some people used for a fan in those days. And Grandpa spoke to me and asked me how I was doing. And my parents tell me later on that I was 2 years old at that time. And about the next thing I recall was that after I got up about 4 years old, I recall seeing the first dead person I ever knew. A lady that we knew was married to a man named Perry Ward. He was the fireman on a train back in the old steam engine days, and the train had wrecked and the boiler bursted and he was scalded to death. And the reason that I remember that, his face, one side of it was black, and he had a big old felt hat pulled down over his head until his ears was flopped down like this. And he's the first dead person I ever remember seeing. And up at about 5 and 6 years old and in that area, I remember I'd always rather that my father would whip me than my mother whenever I was bad. My mother would go out beside the house to a peach tree, and she'd break off a little keen switch, and boy, she'd fly in with that little switch. It'd wrap halfway around you. She'd whip a little while, and then she'd sit down and fuss and drive and carry on, then get up and whip some more. And when she got finished, I'd be striped from the base of my neck to my knees. And whenever Dad got upset with us, if we was inside the house, he'd grab the razor strap, and we got about 4 or 5 big fast licks, and he hung it up and walked away, and that's all there was to it. If we were outside someplace, he'd just snatch up the first thing he got his hands on and 3 or 4 licks, and it was over with. And this is my best memories back in those early days of my life.